Healing Horizons with Saima, where today we step into a truly fascinating realm, the journey beyond time. Our amazing guest, Craig Meriwether, who has devoted his life to guiding people through past life regression therapy, blending science, spirituality, and healing into one profound practice. So, together, we will explore how memories beyond this lifetime might hold the keys to freedom, transformation, and self understanding. So, Craig, welcome to the show.
Simon, thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me to your show. And like we were saying just before we started recording, I'm really looking forward to this. This is such a fascinating topic. So ready to get going.
It's my pleasure to have you here, Craig. So, I'm really curious to know that what first drew you to past life regression therapy? Like, was it curiosity, a personal experience, or a calling?
I think it was more curiosity. I grew up in a very religious background and growing up in the Episcopal Church, which is very kind of like the Catholic Church. It has the robes and the candles and a lot of the ritual, which I really liked. And I went to a Baptist school. So I had this very intense Christian upbringing. And when I got in my 20s and moved to Santa Cruz, California, it really opened my eyes to a lot of different cultures and just different ideas and spirituality from around the world, music and all sorts of different things that piqued my curiosity. And when you get into music or you get into dance or, you start just exploring different kind of philosophies and things, it leads, kind of funnels you into the spirituality of that culture. And so this opened the doorway to that. There's not much of that in the Christian church, past life regression or talk of that. And so these were all new ideas to me. And it was very interesting. And it just sort of broadened over the years, over the last basically 30 years or so, been exploring this stuff. In terms of my own healing, the things I was going through, hypnotherapy helped me very much in terms of kind of the depression I was struggling with and the anxiety I was struggling with. And so that led also to the more spiritual aspects of mind and consciousness and time and space. And when I decided to kind of pivot later in life and become a hypnotherapist to help people, like it helped me, these techniques, I chose a school that had a foundation in past life regression. It wasn't the basis of it. In fact, it's the last training you get of 2.5 months, 500 hours. The last 100 hours is past life regression. But I chose that school, the Hypnotherapy Academy of America, because it had such a deep education in past life regression, because I found it so fascinating. Set you up with the core teachings around hypnotherapy and healing with these techniques. And then once you understand that, you've trained with it some, I actually came back a year later to do that final training in past life regression. So I had a year of working as a hypnotherapist under my belt, and then dove into the more spiritual aspects of it. And it's just really fascinating. And probably, maybe there's a calling there, but it was certainly the curiosity and fascination. When I go to a bookstore, a used bookstore, here in America, we have Barnes and Noble and the biggest bookstore around. I always just head to the spiritual section, and that's the books that always fascinated me. And so probably just big time curiosity on my end.
That makes a lot of sense, Craig. Like, starting from curiosity shows how even a simple interest, can evolve into something profound. I feel that it's a reminder that following what catches our attention can lead to some of the most impactful paths in our life, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because in a sense, it's an interesting question that you pose, because what's the difference between calling and curiosity? Isn't do you not have a curiosity in it because maybe it's your calling? And I mean, this could be the 5-hour conversation, but just on that question alone, because there's so many things to be curious about. And so why have I been so focused on that aspect of being human, the more spiritual side of things, and why Craig Meriwether? You don't get more United Kingdom than that. I'm mostly Scottish and Irish and Welsh and English. And so, that's a very Protestant and Catholic kind of background in terms of my ancestry. But yet I feel very comfortable in a lot of different learning about and even practicing different kind of spiritual techniques from around the world. And so, to a certain extent, maybe there's a calling there of some sort. or, for maybe my own learning and growth, if nothing else.
That's really powerful. It shows how a single experience can shift the entire trajectory of our lives. I wonder that how can, revisiting a past life help someone heal from pain or trauma they face today?
Yeah, that's now again very very fascinating question, because there are certain aspects of us as humans that obviously we have trauma in our lives. We go through tragedies, and it leaves I don't know if mark is the right word, but we can hold on to that hurt and pain. Maybe even something happened to us as kids. We go through a traumatic event. Maybe we grow up in a home that's not very safe, or there's some other trauma that goes on. Maybe we lose our mom or our dad at a young age, or something else happens. And we can carry that hurt and pain. We know this. We get older in life, and that's when a lot of us really start looking for the healing that we need. Maybe as kids, we're not aware that it's possible to heal, or that you're supposed to heal, or that you can heal. But as adults, I think we learn enough about life that we know, yes, it's time to release and let go of that hurt and pain. And so just like you can remember last week, something at work, a meeting at work, or you went out with a friend, or you had to go shopping at a specific store to get something, or you remember a few years ago you went on that trip, or back in school, maybe when you were a little kid, your first day of school, you remember these things, so you can remember the past. What past life regression is, it just takes it a little bit deeper. And so the idea goes back to, well, what happens after the death of this body here in this current life? And there's a lot of you know research even out there, as well as philosophies, and about what happens to our consciousness, our soul afterwards. A lot of the work I do is based on the research of Dr. Michael Newton, and that he put in his books Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And he worked with a lot of people over the course of about 30 years, thousands of people, regressing them to soul world, or spirit life, or life between lives, as he called it, when we're in that soul state and not here on earth. And people had very similar experiences, even though they didn't know each other, and they didn't had different backgrounds and cultures and things, yet they're having similar experiences of soul world. And he talks about that in his books. Fascinating. And so the idea is, well, we're coming here to earth for learning, for growth, to develop as souls. Sort of like, you have this group of souls that are together, so your soul family. Maybe one of those is your specific soul mate, your primary soul mate, but you have the soul family, the soul group. Sort of like, at least here in America, we go through first grade to 12th grade as high school, then we go to university, and you get your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your PhD. Well, sort of like this group goes from first grade all the way to getting your master's degree, even your PhD, as a soul. And you're learning together, developing together. You come back to earth to help each other in various ways, playing different parts, sort of like a theater troupe, choosing a play. And what time period is that play going to be? Who's going to play what role? And then a little bit later, they decide to do another play, and who's going to play what role? Well, same with this, to help us learn. And maybe you're here to help one of your friends, one of your members of your soul family, to help learn and grow. Or maybe it's here for your learning and growth. Well, as we go through these lives, we will have trauma, we will have hurt, and we'll have pain, and we will maybe get marked or carry some of this hurt and pain with us. And so that is what past life regression is here to help release and let go. Not unlike various therapies, where there's hypnotherapy or talk therapy or some other kind of healing modalities to help you heal in this life, even physical healing. The past life regression is here to heal that which may have come from another life. Sort of like, again, if you're a little kid in school and something happened, maybe you got up in front of class to do a history report or book report or something, and everybody laughed, and it was very humiliating. And now you carry that hurt and pain and don't want to get up in front of people to make the big speech or give the big idea at the meeting. Well, you've carried that hurt for maybe decades. Well, same with the expanding it to, wow, but what if that hurt came from another life? Sort of like, and this is maybe a broad example, but if someone is doing a play, you have a theater troupe and you do a play and you hurt your ankle jumping off the couch or something in a big dramatic moment, you kind of twist your ankle. And then a few months later, you do another play, but your ankle hasn't healed yet. And so you're kind of limping in the next play, even though you're playing an entirely different role. Well, kind of maybe not the greatest example in the world, you can see how this may carry forward. And that's what past life regression helps heal, release, and let go of that hurt and pain.
I love how you explain that, Craig. Like
Well,
it
thank you.
highlights the idea that our stories, past or present, can hold insights that help us release old wounds and move forward in a healthier and more empowered way. And that's such an insightful point.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's a fascinating subject because it's so much when we kind of look at the broader aspect of why we're here, um, it can really soften some of the hurt and pain we've gone through. It doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It just means, okay, maybe there's a broader reason for it and I can heal from this and learn from it. And may help in some way.
Absolutely. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Now, like you also wrote the Past Lives Guidebook, right? So, what do you hope readers gain from it that they might not from a single session?
Well, what I'm hoping with the Past Lives Guidebook is, well, again, I kind of wrote it for myself. I was curious. Is there any scientific proof around this? What happens within the brain, really? Is there any other aspects of this consciousness that may point to this being real, past lives being real? And so I started doing some research and with the intention of writing a book, but more about the book I wanted to read because maybe it's out there, but I hadn't found a book on past life regression that talked about the science, that talked about the biology of what's going on to the brain, specifically maybe like the pineal gland and what is the recent research around all of this. Yes, there's some stories in there and those are fun to read, especially like in the Brian Weiss books or Dolores Cannon talks about it. And of course, even this Michael Newton, but I never had read a book that talked more about maybe the more analytical, logical aspects of it. And that's what the book is about. It's a nice, I think, entry point because sometimes these books, when you read about past life regression, you already have to be interested in it. You already have to be a believer. And what I wrote this book for was the skeptic and the curious. I mean, if you're a true believer, you'll get a lot out of it. But I wanted a book where people was, well, I don't believe in it. So why would I want to read a book about stories of people healing from it? Because it's all just in the mind. Well, what if it wasn't in the mind? And here's some research. And while maybe you can never definitively prove this way or that way, I think it does a good job of, by the end of the book, presenting enough circumstantial evidence and putting it all together that this is real healing and because this is really happening to us.
Mm-hmm. That's really a thoughtful approach, Craig. It really, I think it speaks to the depth of care and intention you put in your work, not just by guiding people in a session, but giving them a resource they can return to and continue learning from.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and again, so a lot of this is just my own curiosity, my own skepticism. I'll say it. I'm kind of like I even write this in the introduction of the book. I'm a true believer, skeptic, curious, and all at the same time. I believe, don't believe, and because there's always this nagging feeling. It's like, okay, well, what if you know this is not real? And so I went into the book wanting to see what the evidence was around it. And I think I come out thinking, well, this seems more real than not real to me.
That's the beautiful saying. So, this conversation with Craig Meriwether for sure reminds us that healing isn't always linear, nor is it limited to this lifetime. So, whether you believe this in past lives or simply see them as metaphors, the lessons they reveal can unlock new ways of living with courage, compassion, and clarity. So, listeners, if today's dialogue sparked something within you, take a step toward your own inner exploration because sometimes the path forward is hidden in the stories of long ago.